Hello, everybody. Woo, woo, woo. Sorry on YouTube, it's a little dark. I should probably shut that window, but that's all right. Hello, everybody. It's party time. I know, this sounds funny. I'm wearing my crazy hat. In fact, I have two hats. I have my party hat, I have my rainbow hat. And I've got my little cowbell. So, I have to, well, first let me share this out. I'm going to share this out. I got to share this out to people. Let me share this out to people. So one, two, three, four, five. Let's see who else. 6, 7, 8, 9. That's good. That should be good. Good morning, everyone. Oh, hello, Astro. I just started, so I was just sharing this out. It is party time. Why is it party time? Because this is the 100th episode. I actually got into the three digits. I started this journey out 100 episodes ago. And I said to myself, I says, when we do the 100th episode, we need to have a party. Now, the funny thing is, the 100th episode should have been on Friday. But I said to everybody, I says, well, wait a minute. I was away. I had to go to the doctor. So I ended up going out of town. And I'm like, why don't we just do it Monday and I'll take the weekend off because we were with the kids and everything like that. Hello, Bree's in the house. So I'm excited. I'm like, I am going to do this. We are going to be a party animal. We're going to celebrate. We are going to be smiling and happy for the Lord, for Jesus, for God. I mean, I, I think if there's anything I have to say about this, when I started this journey, I had the Bible in hand and I says, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to come into this with the premise that everything in here that I'm reading is absolutely true. That's what I said. And as I read it, is my faith going to be strengthened? Is my faith going to be diminished? Is my faith going to be non-existent? Well, you know something? I do have to say this has been an amazing, amazing journey. And the beautiful thing about it is that I'm just in the beginning of my journey. I mean, yes, I'm making a celebration of this milestone. And the reason, oh, thank you, Issues, welcome to the show. And Rose, thank you for the heart. And the reason that I'm making this little tiny milestone is because I realize throughout my life, I never celebrated little things. I've always made impossible to reach goals in my life that I would say, okay, yeah, I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to be doing this. And I would create a goal that is so far out of reach that I will never be able to achieve it and I'll never be able to celebrate it. What you're reading, we're going to be starting First Samuel chapter 19, which is what we've been starting for the past 3 days. The past couple of days we haven't gotten to actually reading, but today I'm going to talk a little bit, then we're going to go to reading. So we're definitely going to be reading First Samuel chapter 19, and we'll see where the story of Saul and David comes into play. We just finished David and Goliath. So but yes, we're reading the Bible. It's just like I said, today I wanted to make a little I wanted to make an accomplishment because like I said, when I started this, I didn't think that this would be something every day. Oh, surely not with that. I can't read a Bible wearing a hat like this as a celebration because I'm a party animal. I mean, look how cute this hat is. It has little candles and stuff like that. It is a fun little thing. And if you're not happy with the party animal, check this one out. I've got the cowboy rainbow hat. You know what? I think it's funny. You bring up you bring up you seem really, oh, I seem very sweet, thank you. I have to laugh. I mean, okay. Yes, part of things that I talk about is a shock value, and it's not a shock value in order to be um uh what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word. Like sometimes when I do shock value, it's not necessarily in order to cause um confusion, disarray, or anything like that. I am genuinely a fun person. I used to have shows And I would do hats, I would do headbands, I would do like glitter bombs. I mean, you know something, it shouldn't matter how a person decides to celebrate an accomplishment. I mean, I could have simply just came up here and be like, yay, it's my 100th episode. Hurrah. No, I'm going to be like, you know something? I'm happy. Sound the music, get the cowbell, get the hat. I have done this for 100 episodes. And you know something? While that may not seem like a big I can't even say, while it may not seem like a big accomplishment, it is for me. Because, like I said, I never celebrated little tiny advances. I always celebrated, I always created goals that I was never able to achieve. So I never got the joy to celebrate it. So, you know something? This is different me because it's all about mind, body, spirit. And that's what this whole journey is. Like I said, when I started 100 days ago, I opened this up and said, I am going to read this Bible as if everything in here is absolutely true. And as I read, like I said, my faith either exaggerated or my faith diminished or nothing happened. But so far, what's been happening has been for me an incredible transformation. And the fact that it is an incredible transformation that has, oh, JQ, we are not starting. Okay, you know something? That's it. JQ is officially, for that alone, you're banned. Like, I've given you more than enough times. More than enough times. Like, I can't even. I can't. I mean, and if anybody, I mean, you can see. I left the comment. I just simply blocked. So JQ has been coming in every single day, and all he does is completely destroy the live. In fact, you know something? I am going to mute that comment because that's just a disgusting thing. I am celebrating my own achievement. So I'm going to celebrate my own achievement, 100 days. And in the 100 days, like I said, my attitude has been happier. My knowledge of the Bible has been expanding because now I'm actually starting to do deep dives in areas that I've never done before. I'm actually learning about things and history and taking in so many different perspectives along with reading what this is. I mean, I have to say, last night I had a conversation, a very, very long conversation with Chris in regards to religion. And we were really, really doing the deep dive, particularly about church, because obviously it's Sunday. And I said to him, I says, when are we going to go back to church? Because, all right, some people could say, well, Melanie, you could go to church. And yeah, I am going to go to church anytime. But you know something? If I had the choice between going to church by myself or staying with the person that I love who decides not to go to church with me, ironically, I would stay with the person I love because you know something? For me to go to a church where people are not going to respect me, people are not going to like me, people are going to have their attitudes against me, why should I force myself into a belief system that I don't necessarily align myself 100% while doing it behind my partner's back? Like some people will turn around and say, well, you as a Christian woman, you should be going to church and set an example for your man. No, that's not the case. Because from my perspective, I made a pact not only with my relationship with God, I made a pact with the man I'm with. And you know something? If he decides that he doesn't want to go to church, then there's no reason I need to go to church. Because once again, when two or more people gather together and speak our name, he's there. So you know something? We don't have to go to a building in order to experience the love of God, of Jesus in our lives. And the fact that we can sit down, talk about, discuss, really, really do a deep dive, I think that's more important than ever going to a building with, I mean, I can't even say this, but exactly, you're not obligated to go to a building. If two or more gather in his name, there he is. And that's how I look at it. And it's amazing because I said this to Chris, and it's the same thing because when I questioned him, I felt like it was the same answer that I gave. Because I said to him, I says, why don't you want to go back to church? And he says, it's not the people. It's not the religion. Now, for me, it's the people. But for him, he says, it's not the people, it's not the religion. He says, it's the church itself. He says, that's where the problem is. The problem is the church itself. And I says, yes, but when it comes to church, it's the people that make the church. I says, a church is nothing more than literally a building. And I mean, it's who decides to go into that building, the energy that they bring into that building, the either the love, the distaste, the I mean, whatever it is that they put into that building, that is the building you're going to. And I mean, he told me, what do we got? We've got right. You're not obligated if there's two or more. Bible studies are church right here. Thank you, issues. Absolutely, because once again, two or more people, there's more than two people here. We're gathering together. Mr. Bill says I'm a freak. Okay, so you know something? Hey, if I could be a freak, maybe that's a good thing. You think that's an insult? I don't think it's an insult. I think I'm having a good time. I got my hat. I got my hat. I got my cowbell. That's all I need. Most important, I've got my Bible. Got my Bible. Now that's the coolest hat I've ever seen. Is the party animal hat. My day is going well. Thank you for asking. Christine, we're going to be doing First Samuel chapter 19, and hopefully we can actually get through um, chapter 19 because we've been doing First Samuel chapter 19 for a couple of days now because I keep getting distracted. But we are going to do First Samuel chapter 19. Church comes from the word Circe. It's about taxes, not about God. Now, interesting enough, 21, welcome to the show. We spoke about this because one of the things, like I said, I almost feel empowered. I wish I recorded the conversation yesterday, but I would never record without. And when I start recording, Chris shuts down. But we had such an impactful conversation about everything. And I mean, I would love to bring in some of the topics here, but it's like one of the things we did talk about is the whole idea about tithing and taxes and the way church are structured. And I don't know if I don't know if I want to expose a story, but he's oh good morning, Sarah. Thank you. Happy 100th time. I don't want to necessarily expose a story, but he told me a story in regards to his church. And I've already seen a couple of stories from my own experience as far as the church he was going to. And then when he told me this particular story, it got into the whole idea of tithing and giving offerings because I'm not going to go into details, but basically the church was ostracizing people that didn't tithe a specific amount. And I thought that was a disgrace. Like, are you serious? I'm like, if you don't give X amount of dollars, they are ostracizing people. And I think, and I mean, I personally even saw something terribly disgusting that the church did. And I mean, I was beyond angry that a church would even do this. And I'm not going to say what it is because, like I said, there are things I shouldn't say. But when the church did this, I was so horrified. And when I brought it to Chris's attention, I think maybe that was like the straw that broke everything's back. Because one of the things I said to him, I says, "Is it really my fault that you no longer go to church?" Because I feel like there's this like inner hum that he doesn't go to church because of me. And he said, he's like, no. Oh wait, everybody's talking about money. This is a good thing. Church was made up to buy the land in America. That is a disgrace. Tithing should be anonymous. Exactly, and I agree with that. I mean, I almost want to say, like I said, when I was a kid, they used to go around with the offering bucket, and my grandmother always gave me $1, and I would put the dollar in, and you just pass it around. Now, church has a couple of things. They have either an envelope where you could just put the sealed envelope in the bucket, or they have a basket when you walk in, or I call this the altar of shame, where that's what I called it. I should call it the altar of shame, where literally it's like offering time and you have to get up out of your seat, walk to the altar, to put money in. And I personally think that that act is disgusting, because then it even goes into the whole idea what the Bible was saying, like there shouldn't be stairs up to the altar. There shouldn't be an altar that's engraved or what do you call it, chiseled out. Like an altar is supposed to be one continuous piece. There shouldn't be any carvings or anything in an altar. And I think about all these things, and every time I look at different churches and how they're set up, I think to myself, it's like they're all the same. They all have the stairs going up. They all have some sort of engraved podium. They all have this church idolized symbolism. The way and it's like, it makes me want, and I'm not trying to bash church. I'm really, really not. Money is the root of all evil. God bless. I hope you have a good day. Okay, thank you so much. You too. God asks for money, the devil doesn't. Interesting. God asks for money, the devil doesn't. I don't know, 21. I don't know if I would put it in that terms, because I almost want to say, is it really God who asks for money, or is it the people disguised in the name of God? Because that's one of the things we were talking about. Because when we were going over the laws, the old laws, or you could call them commandments or covenant or whatever you want to call it. I'm not talking about the 10 original. I'm talking about the 600 and whatever laws that was made up in the Torah that the Lord wanted. When you go line by line by line on each of the things he wants, it micromanages so many aspects of life. And it makes it almost impossible for a person to be able to adhere to everything. And one of the most interesting things, and I've said this when I read it, because they do it multiple times, is the interesting thing I said was, why is it that half the book is designed that here's a law, here's a completely different law, here's a completely different law, but then when we get to certain laws, it is expanded so much and explained in such great detail that there leaves very, very little room for interpretation, because it's already spells out exactly. And one of them has to do with tithing. It is so exact as far as how much should be set aside, what should be set aside, what type of sacrifices. And I almost feel like, was that necessarily God asking for money, or was that society, the church, and politics in the name of God asking for money? The love of money is the root of evil, and I agree with that. Uh, the love of money is not the root of all evil. What is evil spells backwards? What? So you're saying that the root of all evil is living? Is that what you're trying to say? Live? It's true. Happy 100th day. Thank you, Angel. Church isn't of God. Yeshua was offed by religious freaks that wanted to keep control, so they made an example out of him. Circe is old enough. Greek origin of the word church is kuriakon. Okay, Fallon, I have no idea what either one, but I'm going to write those down and look those up. See, that's the thing, when people start saying old old root words and stuff like that. I have to celebrate. This is the 100th episode. 100th episode. Happy, happy, happy. All right, so Cerise is church, and Kuriakon, that's Greek for church. Aw, my hat made your morning. Thank you so much. It's my happy hat. I wore this hat when it was Sarah's birthday and we sang her happy birthday. So I figured this is my party hat. Then I got my little cowbell. So Old English. Yeah. My family left our church 15 years ago because they were condemning people for not giving. And you know what? I mean, I'm not trying to, and I hope, don't take me wrong, I'm not trying to say that people shouldn't go to church. What I'm saying is, when I first came with Chris, he was very religious. He went to church constantly. I started going to church with him. And then as I was going to church, I'm looking around and he saw like my anxiety and stuff like that because it was hard enough for me to go to church to begin with. Now I'm in this place that I'm getting high anxiety. Things are wrong. I don't feel comfortable. And he said, so, excuse me. So I think what was interesting is he says that it's not me that caused him. He says he was already beginning to lose a connection to the church. And then, like I said, with me coming into the picture and then seeing certain things that happened in a very, very short time. I mean, even I was witness to something that was like, are you, I mean, I was so angry with the church. And like, even Chris had to calm me down as to how angry I was with this church. But I felt like that was the last, I mean, I guess it was the last straw for him. So I said to him, I says, okay, now that things have calmed down, why don't we go back to church? Why don't we find a church that we can connect with? That's up in the air. But I feel like a church can make or break somebody. Because for me, a church is the people. It's not necessarily, I mean, okay, please forgive me. If church simply was a place to have a connection with God and to worship, then it shouldn't matter at all who comes in, who tithes, who doesn't tithe, or anything like that. Because you know something, it would just be an individual expression of that person's faith and belief to the one above. But that's not the case. When it comes to church, it literally is one big um should I even say it's a social contest? I don't even want to use the word contest, but it's the look at me, look at how good I am, look at how much I give, look at how social I am among the people, look at how close I am to the elders of and that's what it ends up turning out to be. I mean, I will say this. When I walked in on my own. And walking in on my own, nobody talked to me. Dead silence. Nobody even greeted me. The moment I walked in with Chris, who was with that church for over 20 years and stuff like that, everybody came up to me. Oh, hi, how are you? Da da da. And it's like he was the catalyst that people would open themselves up to me to talk to. And I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, if Chris wasn't in the picture and I was just some stranger off the street, that's how you treat strangers. You don't even talk to them. I'm sorry, it's 26 messages. Let me go. We don't live. This isn't real. It's all about money. That's when God was removed and they inserted God or Gadriel. The word church comes originally from Kurikon, meaning building. I thought church came from ecclesia. God is on the dollar bill, not God. I am. Can you please follow me? I follow special needs. I follow everybody usually when they follow me. I follow it after live. So yeah, definitely special needs. Where are you going? Done. Amen. If that is how the church someone is at, you're at the wrong. Well, that's how I feel. And I mean, I never wanted to knock it out of him because I said to him, I says, look, you've been with this church for like 20 years now, and in a short amount of time of me knowing him, the atrocities that I saw, and it's like I don't want to knock it out of him because there are still family members that go to this church that are heavily involved in this church. So it's like I don't want to knock it out, but it's like I almost feel like I don't even know what to say. It's like for me personally, it should not matter what building you walk into. I should be able to literally once a week go to every single church, and that will be me worshiping, me creating that connection with God. It shouldn't matter. But yet, everybody goes to the same church over and over again. You see the same people, you play the same music, you hear the same preacher. Now, granted, each and every week will be a different topic, but it's the same routine over and over again. I almost feel like, honestly, if you really want to go to church, then you should be able to walk into any church at any time, anywhere, no matter what it is, and you'll have that connection. Um, be a good Christian, not a good person. Okay, wait. Interesting. 21, is that sarcasm, or is that you're saying be a good Christian, not a good person? I would want to be a good person, not necessarily a good Christian. Now, people will be like, what? Because for me, whoops, sorry. For me personally, when you be a good Christian, sometimes being a Christian locks you up in a certain bubble that you don't expand yourself out of. However, being a good person can expand that bubble even greater than just being a religious figurehead, if that makes sense. 21, where are you going? The same place I've always been. Exactly. Jesus was a Christian. What? I almost want to say technically Jesus was not a Christian, if you think about it. But okay, wait. You said Jesus was a Christian, and then Jesus wasn't a Christian. I'm going to say that Jesus was not a Christian. So I think, okay, all right. So you meant to say wasn't. All right, because I thought you were fooling with me. I was going to say, like, now that's, yes, Jesus wasn't a Christian because Jesus was, you spelled it wrong. Okay. Because, I mean, technically, Christianity is the belief of Jesus. So that's why you can't say that Jesus is, because Christianity is, yeah, the belief of Jesus. So anyway, I'm blabbering. I'm sorry, guys. I had to take a drink. Um, None of the men in the Bible had a Bible, did they? Due to hell? Do they due to hell? Oh, do they go to hell? Do they go to hell? Um, I will say this. I'm still waiting for somebody to provide me a scripture exactly on hell. It's interesting. If I give a topic, everybody gives me an exact scripture. But the moment I say, okay, can you give me a scripture on hell? It's like pure silence. Pure silence. Jesus was a Muslim, a person who submits their will to the one true God. Bet you missed one. Well, 21, I have to say this. I have not been on since Thursday. So I took the weekend off. Friday I had to go out of state for a medical appointment. So that's why I said, but I do have to say this. I had a blast. I took Brianna with me. She was off from school. So, because she's homeschooled, so I'm like, guess what? We're going in the car. We're going for a ride. So she came with me. We ended up going for lunch. We went shopping. I went to my appointment. So I had fun Friday. I spent the whole day out. Show me where it says Jesus was a man. I think Jesus was. Oh my God. Jesus is the Son of God. Oh, all right. Um, I don't. I'm not even going to go to that one because okay, the Matthew relevant scriptures for health. Okay, so wait, Matthew. I'm going to go against my rules. I just want to skip because I just want to see at least something. Okay, so Matthew 25:46. I just want to see nothing because who said that? Angel, you're the first one who actually gave me a scripture. Every time I say, give me a scripture about hell. All right, so 25:46. I'm gonna read that for fun. Okay, and these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but righteous into life eternal. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily say hell, it simply says a life of everlasting punishment. Matthew 10:28. 10:28. And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul, body, in hell. Thank you. Okay, now we got the word hell. Okay, so there is. Thank you. Angel, thank you. No, I'm serious. I'm not being sarcastic because for 100 days now, every time I said, "Guys, give me one scripture about hell," they talked about. I think somebody mentioned Skoal in the Old Testament, as then they mentioned about the fire pits in Revelations. But I simply said, "Is there anywhere in the Bible that talks about hell?" Bam, right here. You're able to destroy both body, soul, and body in hell. Okay, so now we finally. So thank you. I appreciate that. No, I really do appreciate that. Does it say he's a man or the son of God, not son? That's a bit blasphemous. He's called man and man over. Psalms 84. Tell me one. What is your question? I'm not Christian, so blasphemy isn't for me. Hell is basically the lake of fire in the. Well, yeah, that's what they mentioned. They mentioned that throwing into the fire pit in the old Adam called son of God in Luke 3:38 was Adam divine. Ooh, interesting. And also the fallen angels or the ones Nephilim, they were also the sons of God because the sons of God intermingled with the daughters of humans. So that's an interesting thing. If Jesus is only the sons of God, then why were the sons of the Lord set down? You know what I mean? So that's an interesting discussion too. Where is hell in the Old Testament? The only thing they mentioned about hell in the Old Testament is, like I said, I think it was pronounced skull or something like that. There were 20 instances describing it in the Gospels. Psalms 84:11, the elves, the elite, elected. There is gnashing of teeth. People are destroyed there. They are experience torment and agony. These are the references in the Gospels. Psalms 84:11. What does Psalms 84:11 say? I'm just curious. Yeah, I'm breaking my rules. I'm going ahead. Isn't that bad? I figured it's going to take me like 3 years to finish the Bible, so I might as well start going ahead. For the Lord God is a sun and shield. The Lord will give grace and glory. No good thing will be withheld from them that walk uprightly. Interesting. Yeah, but the only thing is, yeah, sun, S-U-N. And he's right. It says the Lord God is the sun. The only thing is, remember, the Lord created the sun and the moon. So, did he create himself when he created? Yeah. The Son of God always means God. Then you have many gods. And I have to say this, RG, I'm starting to believe more and more on the polytheistics that there are many gods, and that upsets too many people. But the more I read this, the more I'm believing that there is. If it's metaphorical for closeness, obedience, then why make it literally only for Jesus? No, God did. Read Mark 9:43. Mark. Let's go. Yeah, today I'm skipping around. Why not? Matthew, Mark. Okay, so Mark 9:43. Um and if the hand offend thee, cut it off. It is better for thee to enter life maimed than having two hands to go to hell, into the fire that shall never be quenched. So it does talk about hell again. Thank you. Bila, I appreciate that. So at least I know that at some point, when we get to the Old Testament, which is very, very interesting because, like I said, up until this point in the Old Testament, we don't even talk about heaven. Heaven isn't even a concept until we get to Jesus. And I think that's one thing that's interesting about Jesus is he's literally changing the Testament, obviously to New Testament, because the old way the Lord was granting you paradise in the living sense. He was giving you the promised land while you lived. Whereas Jesus is coming along and he's like elevating it to the next step. It's like, okay, now that you lived your physical life, now let's live your eternal life. And eternally, you could be in heaven with my Father, or you could be condemned to hell. And he's saying it's better off just chop your hands off because even without your hand, hell is so much of a worse place with never ending fire. It'll be never ending torment. Elohim Els, Timothy. The Bible is full of, okay, if you believe that, that's fine. Keep going all the way through to the 40th verse. It describes it even more there. Jesus is clearly the Son of God, not the Son. And like I said, even in the beginning, what I find interesting, and this is sometimes people where the first words is, let there be light. But the light was not the sun. He created the sun and moon later on. So, what exactly was that light, and where was that light that God created that is different from the sun, moon, and stars? That's an interesting question I have. Most people don't think about that because a lot of people just assumed, okay, well, yeah, let there be light, bam, there's sun. Fallon says the light is in you, which, you know something, I agree with that. I mean, I was talking with, like I said, Chris and I yesterday. I almost wish I recorded it because we spoke hours upon hours, all things religion. We really did. It was an amazing conversation. And we were really going into the deep roots because I was like literally exposing, okay, this is the stuff I really believe. This is the stuff I don't believe. This is the stuff I have questions with. And the more and more I'm feeling things are happening around the world and what's going on and with current events and stuff like that, because I said to him, I says, because he knows that I believe in conspiracy theories. A lot of my conspiracy theories he thinks is so far out there, which I respect him, that's fine. However, he strongly believes in revelations and the times and tribulations. I mean, he's and he keeps saying to me, nobody's going to know when it's going to happen. Because I said to him, I says, did it already happen? Are we already well past Revelations? And he's like, no, Revelations did not happen yet. It is going to happen. I says, okay, do you think it's going to be sooner or later? He says, I have no idea. Nobody does. He says, but everything that's happening now in the world is biblically being spoken. I says, okay, I'm glad we're on the same page on that, because my fear is, this is my personal fear. We're leading up to the 2030 New World Order. I'm going with that. That's crazy. I know people don't agree with it, but I feel like that's how quickly our time is running out because they want everything to be all under the one rule. Uh, where the worms that eat them do not die and the fire is not quenched. No one will know, but there will be signs. Absolutely, Rose. And we are definitely in the end of days. That's how Chris feels. Chris feels as well. He doesn't think it's going to be necessarily 4 years, but he's worried about like our children's children and stuff like that. And I mean, I guess this is me rambling, so don't mind me. I says, Chris, you know what? One of the things that bothers me that nobody really talks about, and I have to be careful that if I'll even get in trouble for saying this. I says, you know what the jab did? I says, I said instantly the jab got rid of people who had some sort of pre-existing condition. So if you had like heart issues, if you had low metabolism, low immunocompromise, it got rid of you instantly. I says it obviously changed people's RNA, DNA. Obviously changed it. And I says, my fear is not the people now who took the jab. I says, my fear is when they have children. I says, because they'll probably have kids. I says, right now it's roughly what, 6 years, 5, 6 years later. I says, what's going to happen in say 20 years from now? I says, 20 years will be the first time that the generation will be the children of the people who had their DNA altered. Think about that. Yeah, that's exactly what I was getting at. I think that the children are going to be infertile. And all it takes basically is 2 generations to knock out the world completely. So, in other words, if you have a generation of infertile people, there's going to be no longer future generations, which what's going to happen is one of two things. Either the world will be completely eradicated. Two, the world will only be populated with people who are not among the jabbing uh, um, lineage, or it'll literally turn into something like The Handmaid's Tale, if anybody follows that story, where there are certain people who can procreate while others can't, or it'll ultimately be nothing more than cloning, in vitro fertilization, some sort of grow your baby in a test tube sort of thing. And I think that's what's going to happen. Is it's going to be more build your own baby. Yeah, you want. Yeah, you're right. The word God gets used for different beings in the Old Testament, and it's not only God. Sarah says, I don't even think we'll make it that far. The way we're going, I mean, okay, we watched a movie yesterday. I've been wanting to see this movie, and it finally became free. Because a lot of times I want to watch a movie, and it's like, okay, you got to rent it for like $9.99, or I'm like, I'm not paying when I know eventually it's going to become free. So that's exactly what happened. So the movie is called Begonia. Very strange movie. The premise of Begonia is basically these two conspiracy theorists kidnap a CEO of a pharmaceutical company. Does this sound familiar? Because they think she's an alien. Okay, I'm not going to say what happens, but that's the premise of the movie. They kidnap the CEO because they believe she's an alien. Um, what's interesting about watching the movie, because I mean both Chris and I was like watching this movie, and this stemmed a lot about our religious conversation, because we got into this whole conversation and stuff like that. And I said to him, I says, you know something, look at what we're watching right now. This is supposed to be a fictional. I says, just imagine if this was 100% true, if what they said in this movie, because I told them about the universal law of good versus evil, that they have to tell you what they're doing. I says, think about this whole release of the Epstein files, and oh, I can't even say the word. I gotta be careful. Releasing of the files. I says, they just released some of the most horrific things that people cannot even fathom that other people do, and they released it as if it's nothing. And people are literally popcorn moment going through file after file after file after file, and they're like, look at this, and they're talking about it, and they're bringing it to life, and they're laughing about it, or they're joking about it, or they're saying how disgusting they're, or they're sharing it out, or they're making memes, and it's turning some really horrific things into normalcy. It's allowing it to happen, because even right now, I mean, you could say maybe it's too soon, but is anybody being convicted? Is anybody being charged? Is anything happening with all those names of people that are doing this, the pictures of this? Nothing is being done right now. I'm hoping eventually it will be, but who knows? But yes, the jab will cause many to be infertile. You're right. The word God is used for different beings. Okay, Sarah, I don't even think we'll make it that far. It can confuse reader, because in English, the word God usually means one supreme. Well, see, and you know something that can confuse everything. I'm insisting, and I particularly in Genesis, I go back to Genesis 6 all the time, and even with Noah, you have a conversation between the Lord and you have the conversation between God. To me, that's two different beings. Even when you read it, when you read chapter 6, read it as two separate beings. But people keep saying, nope, it's one and the same, one and the same, one and the same. So I'm like, okay, if it's one and the same, then why does the Lord give one set of instructions to Noah and God gives a second different set of instructions to Noah? Why is that? I mean, like, is that literally God having a moment of himself saying, you know, so let's do this. No, no, let's do that. No, we're going to do this. We're going to do. No, to me, that's two different beings trying to get Noah to do the very thing they want him to, but Noah chose one versus the other. That's how I look at it. I personally think we will see Jesus come back in the next 8 years. Like I said, 2030 is supposed to be that year. I mean, I haven't looked at any celestial things as far as if there's anything powerful going on in the world of the cosmos. But I do find it interesting, and I even said this to Chris. I says, Chris, think back for a second growing up. He's like, yeah. I says, how many eclipses did we have? And he's like, what are you talking about? I says, I'm serious, eclipses. I'm like, like lunar eclipse, solar eclipse stuff. I says, because I distinctly remember in the 80s that an eclipse was something that happens like once every 40, 50 years. Like it's such a rarity for something like this to happen. I says, but now people don't even care. We're getting eclipses like multiple times a year. We're getting 3 this month alone. And I said that to him. I says, there was one last week. There's going to be one on March 3rd. I'm like, where did all these eclipses come from? And he's like, well, maybe. I'm like, no, something is wrong. Weird things are happening. I personally think Jesus will come back in the next 8 years. In the Old Testament, the Hebrew word Elohim can refer to the one true God, false gods, and angels. Exactly. Or even human judges, depending on the context. The confusion often comes from translation, not knowing the cultural context. And I agree with you, RG, I really do. I love I love the fact that you're sitting right now instead of working. Okay, then let me tell you something. Would this make you feel better if I start doing jumping jacks while I'm talking to you? Who says I don't work out? People have been saying we're in the last days for hundreds of years, and that's true, Val. They have. Jesus is the end. Um, Jesus says the end would come in his generation, which that's one of the reasons why I question this, because there is a conspiracy theory that Jesus actually came back approximately 80 years after the crucifixion. And when he came back, that was the beginning of the Enlightenment age. So that the last 1,000 years from that time, where we called the Dark Ages, we are actually being lied to. And that was actually the most glorious, beautiful, creative, spiritual, high frequency moments. That's why we have such beautiful art and architecture and things that we cannot create today, because there is a theory that Jesus has already came back in his lifetime, as it's said in the Bible. And because we are now in Satan's little season, they are erasing the history that we had and lying to people. That's the theory, because they're saying that we wiped out 1,000 years of our history. Like we not wiped it out, but we added 1,000 years of history and filled it in with stuff that never happened and people that never happened. I mean, I will tell you this, because I said this to Chris. I'm like, Chris, you will not believe some of the stuff that's coming up on my feed, and it makes me wonder, did we even hop into another dimension? He's like, what you're talking about? I said, okay, well, apparently, and just tell me if you guys have heard this or not, but apparently Abraham Lincoln, Beethoven, and Mozart are all black. Now, for me, I don't care whether they are or aren't. That doesn't, but if that's the case, then how much other stuff were we lied to about? What other things are we lied to? Like, there's this whole thing that George Washington and Abraham Lincoln were both black. For me, like I said, the color of the skin doesn't matter. But why would that now be something that's being discussed? Why is it being something that's being, I mean, is it literally that it was whitewashed to begin with? Is this something that we're trying to confuse society now? Is there new, I mean, like, why is this stuff coming into play now? Why is this whole confusion trying to because I almost want to say, think about this. With the Tower of Babel, building a tower to get up to heaven. That's exactly what they were trying to do. What was the punishment? Let us confuse them. Let us create languages. Let us separate them. So even back then, the punishment was separating people and confusing them. And I feel like that's what's happening now, is we need to separate more. Left and right. Let's confuse the people. Man and woman. Let's confuse the people. Color of skin. And it's all about separating people into their little tiny bubbles where they never come together as a collective and join together. Uh, okay, wait, let me keep going. Hold on. All right. So people have been saying we were in the last days for hundreds of years. Jesus said he would come in his generation. Antichrist, world ruler, must reign for 3.5 years before Jesus comes back. Exactly. Jewish people have read the Old Testament in Hebrew for 3,000 years, and they never believed in many gods or God has a son. During the 1,000 years, we live in the new holy city that comes down from heaven. Now, see, that's okay. So that's what the question is. So some people believe that the 1,000 years of the holy has already happened. Other people believe it hasn't happened yet. Fallon says, what if it's all a metaphor? And it probably could. We already know that the Bible is full of metaphors and parables, and it's all. But I also say, okay, what if it's not a metaphor and everything should be taken literally? That makes it very, very interesting as well. And like I said, if anybody watches that movie Begonia, um, very interesting. I'll just say very interesting religious rundown. I'm going to leave it at that because there is a religious aspect to that movie where they give a religious rundown of the story of life. I'm just going to say that, like, I'm not giving it away. I highly suggest people should see that movie. Um, but like I said, Chris and I were talking. We saw it on Peacock. So it was on Peacock. I think we had to pay for it if we wanted to see it on Prime. So we were able to see it on Peacock. But like I said, it's called Begonia. They kidnap a CEO because they're crazy conspiracy theories. Yeah, Begonia like the flower. Exactly. Yeah. I can't think of her name. I gotta look it up. I don't know. My computer's Begonia. Of course, it brings the plan. I look up Begonia. I'm looking for the movie. Yeah, 2025 film. That's the movie I want to see. Overview. I just want to see. I forgot the name of the actress. More. Yeah, it's a very good movie though. I will tell you that. Emma Stone, that's her name. So if you like Emma Stone, because she has such a distinctive voice, and I couldn't think of what her name was. But it is with Emma Stone. It's in it. It almost reminded me, if anybody watched the movie V for Vendetta, this movie almost reminded me of that movie. But it was an interesting take. But yeah, if anybody wants to see it, has a very interesting religious twist at the end. But it does makes you question. And I think that was the stem of both Chris and I talking. Hello, David. Welcome to the show. David's on the YouTube side. Thank you so much. But no, I don't do any more selling on YouTube. Now I pretty much do my sales on eBay, Macari, Poshmark, that sort of thing, Facebook Marketplace. So, yeah, I used to. I stream the show both on TikTok and YouTube. And YouTube, I used to do live selling shows, but I stopped those selling shows. I don't know. I may go back to them. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But okay. What else are we talking about? I don't know. I'm all over the place. Anyway, back to what we were saying with Chris. A lot of stuff is happening on a spiritual plane, and I almost want to say the atrocities that are happening around the world right now. There's a reason for it, and although we may not understand the reason, I really do believe this is all about the ultimate takeover of this world. It's taking over us as people. It is a battle between good versus evil. It's exposing things. Yeah, it's all spiritual battle. Exactly. I agree with that. And the thing is, like I said, there's that universal rule when it comes to good versus evil, that they must expose everything. So think about this. If we are exposing the atrocities in the form of files and people aren't doing anything about it, then that means we are just blindingly accepting that this behavior is okay. Because think about this. People think it's over now that the guy, I can't even say the E guy is dead. He's no longer around. He has been he committed, well, I can't even say the word, which the whole point is that was just an employee if you think about it. He wasn't the ringleader of anything. He was just an employee working on behalf of whoever is higher, stronger. And you know something? They decided to get rid of him because either maybe he was gathering evidence that he shouldn't have been gathering. I mean, if you want to think of it this way, think about Diddy, P. Diddy. P. Diddy did the same thing. He gathered evidence. He was taking videos. He was taking, so it's like they're getting rid of the people who have evidence of what is actually going on. They are just the employees. They're just the little minions. So everybody's saying like the E guy is the ringleader of everything. No, he was nothing more than just a little tiny pawn that it's like his time's over. Now somebody else. Don't you think they're still doing the exact same thing? You think it really, really stopped everything? A Fall Guy. Thank you. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It's someone that they got rid of to blame to distract from the bigger picture. And I mean, okay, I don't care what side of the fence you are on politically, but I often wonder, does it really matter who is in charge at any specific time? Because if you think about it, and I find this amazing, if you take Trump's speech now, compare it to Bill Clinton's speech from X amount of years ago when Bill Clinton was in charge, they were literally saying the same thing, which I find hilarious. They were all talking about how they need to reduce immigration, how they need to secure the border, how they need to do this. They're all saying the same things. And I find it amazing how now all of a sudden, when you talk about immigration and this and that, now it's an issue because a specific person says it, when at any point any other left person or Democrat has said this in the past. I mean, I'll even say this. Nancy Pelosi. How many videos are there where she talks about how we need to secure the border, how we need to keep up with the illegal aliens and stuff like that? This was years ago. And now all of a sudden they're like, oh no, we have to open the borders. We have to invite. I feel like it's the same story. It's just, I don't even know how to describe it. I feel like I'm in a weird simulation. I really am. Your M rampages, if you will, those. Okay, wait, hold on. It's like the barbaric people we read about in the Old Testament that the Lord told the Israelites to take out. Your murderous rampages for the same people. Yes, you're exactly right. The murderous rampage. I'm sorry, it scrolled up. I didn't see the first half of it. Well, that's what's happening. And I mean, I know with the recent events, I'm not going to go into, like, I have to be careful because I know, like, with current events, it bothers people. But most of the world is cheering about what was done with a specific person being decimated. Okay? Most of the world is cheering. However, as the world cheers, the left on this side is not cheering. So I'm really trying to figure out, because I feel like a lot of times people come in like, who do you support? Do you support Palestine, Israel? Honestly, I don't even know who to. I don't know who to support. That's why I don't discuss that and I don't take sides, because I don't know who to support. I don't know, but all I know is if the majority of people feel like they are free, that they are happy, that this is a good thing, wouldn't that be a good thing? compared to if a small group of people say that it's not a good thing. I don't know. That is why the Lord told them to take them out, and you were again upsetting about the rampages. They were like the people in current day club, and that's why God said to get. And you know something, you're Sarah, you're spot on. I mean, I think that is literally modern day. Like the Lord is saying, go do the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, kill them all, kill them all, kill them all. In a way, isn't that what we are doing right now? Isn't we going around? But we're not killing everybody. We're just killing the leaders. Because doesn't it make sense to kill the leaders as opposed to killing? Adventist wants to know, am I Christian? I am a believer, but I'm not going to call myself a Christian. Um, Sarah's pretty smart. Of course, Sarah, you're all pretty smart. Everybody contributes to this life. That's the way I look at it. It's like everybody has something to bring to the table. They give a different perspective, they give a new idea. It is. I believe in God. So, but see, I almost want to say this. And you know something, Adventist, I'm going to bring this up. What difference does it make what I believe in? I mean, I almost want to say this. I mean, I don't know if I honestly don't know if you're trolling, if you're trying to be genuine, if you're trying to just hog up the conversation. I really don't know. But I often want to know, like, what is the mindset of just going into somebody's live, not saying hello, not contributing to the conversation, not engaging in anything, but just start an interrogation of questions for your own agenda. Have I heard of the great controversy? There's so many controversies, so I have no idea what great controversy you're talking about. In fact, we've mentioned about 7 different controversies here already. So if you're going to talk about it, you might as well throw it in the chat and talk about it. Because what great controversy are you? All right, so you want to learn from my perspective on life? Sit down, relax, enjoy, come in for the conversation. Fallon's like, I'm only here to troll. I'm only here to troll. No, you're not troll. Well, you know, some Adventists, I respect that. I try to put my guard up when people start interrupting, and I'm not saying right now. This is the open forum. I open up my table to whoever wants to talk. This is my talk mode, and then once we finish talk, then I'm going to get into the Bible reading, and then yeah. So that's how, like, this is the talk. Eventually, I want to get to Samuel chapter 19 because I feel like we've been doing this chapter for like 3 days now. The great controversy is a struggle between Satan and God, which begin in heaven. Okay, yeah. So you're on the right. So you're in the right place. We all agree that there is good versus evil, and I think right now evil is really taking control of this world, so much more powerful than the good side is. And I mean, I almost want to say the good side is becoming a minority, which in some ways might be a good thing if you think about it. I mean, I shouldn't say that's a good thing, but it does explain the idea about revelations. It does explain the idea about people going into the worldview is the reason why sin and suffering exist. I think sin and suffering exist is because we keep bringing it alive. Um, I look at it this way, and people could disagree. Earth can either be your heaven or it could be your hell while you're alive. I really believe that. And I separate those people between those who wish to live and those who exist. The people who exist are the ones that are not happy with their life. They're miserable about everything. They have no focus. They have no motivation. They have no goal. Those are the people who will fight about everything, who get angry if people are happy around them, who have no drive, they have no passion, they have no need for life. That those are the people that exist. And I feel bad for those people. Those are the people that I would love to wake up to have them find whatever their passion is, whatever their joy is. Then those are the people who live. And for me, the people who live are the ones who will actually appreciate and enjoy and love things. They will be the ones that are happy to wake up in life. They will be the ones that the littlest things can provide joy and happiness in their life, Oh, I'm being moderated. I got my little puzzle. So let me do this puzzle. I guess they don't like when I start talking like this. Okay, so there. I did my puzzle. But the worldview is the reason why sin and suffering exist. There's the idea, I mean, we could go to the Buddhist idea that man's suffering is caused by man's desires. And if you think about it, when men desire too much, rather than just desiring the bare minimum, it's never good enough. You have to desire more and more. You have to be more greed, more money, more materialistic things. Huh, I will give troll food for a minute. More food. I laugh about that one because I get all the time about me being gluttony and stuff like that. But the point I'm trying to make is men's suffering is caused by man's desires, if you think about it. And yes, that's a Buddhist rule. I almost wish I'm wondering if there's anything that talks about suffering in the Bible in such a way. Probably at one point I will read something along those lines, not necessarily the exact words, but I guaranteed somewhere in this Bible it is going to talk about that if you have too much in excess, you will suffer because of it. I got a question for you. Why do you think God allows sin to exist? And that's a very good question. And I will say this. If he didn't allow sin to exist, and if sin didn't exist at all, then there would be no spectrum of opposition. And if there's no spectrum of opposition, then people would not necessarily understand anything. They would be nothing more than just a slave to whatever the idea is. There would be nothing more than there would be no appreciation. There would be no good versus evil. If everything was just completely perfect, then there's no change. There's no free will. There's no creativity. There's no deviation. There has to be. I mean, I almost want to say this, and I'm starting to believe this. I really am starting to believe this, and it'll upset people who. I mean, I almost want to say it's an idea that'll upset Christians, and I'm not trying to upset Christians, but I'm almost starting to believe because my question is this. I really don't believe that God created evil. I really don't. I really do not believe that God created evil. Now, Sarah said man brought in sin. I really think that whatever it was, that light, whatever that thing that started this all, God said, let there be light, and there was light. There obviously was darkness to begin with. I almost want to say that in order for there to be God, there had to be the opposite as well. And the two sides is what makes everything. And I mean, that's a very, very hard concept. I mean, I almost want to say that that's jumping even further in thought away because I really don't believe God in his perfection was the one that says, okay, in order for this world, we have to. I think the two of them are one and the same that had to be created. You know what I mean? That had to come into fruition in order for all of this to fall together. You're beautiful. God bless you and your family. Thank you so much, Apple. I appreciate that. So you're saying sin was a good thing. See, don't take one thing I say it, then run with it. What I'm saying is, in order for things to have choice, in order for things to have an appreciation, in order to understand a full spectrum of emotions, then yes, you're going to need to have good and evil. That's your litmus test. Those are your extremes. If you didn't have your extremes, then you would have nothing in between. So, okay, yes, if you want me to flat out say it, yes, sin is a good thing. Because if there wasn't sin, then you wouldn't know and understand that there's anything other than what it is around us. So in other words, okay, if Adam and Eve never took the from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, then technically they would be within the garden. They probably would have procreated, but the procreation would have been in the same way that we do now, because one of the punishments of that was that he specifically made childbirth painful. The other thing is they wouldn't have been eating of the dirt. There wouldn't have been the snake. So all these things was a snowball effect from Adam and Eve biting of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Now there's Gnostic texts that talk about that when they bit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, they didn't die like they were supposed to. Instead, it opened up their mind to God's view, which that's one of the things that was warned, that they opened up their mind and they saw everything. They saw what was happening. So they saw good and evil as opposed to only seeing the one side. So, yeah, I'm saying there's a bigger reason. I do believe there's a bigger reason that we will never understand. That's not entirely true. It began with Satan first. Okay, so you think Satan came before God did? Is that what you're asking me? Is that, I mean, is that what you're saying? You're saying Satan came first, then God came in? I mean, I don't know. Because, all right, technically, one could look at it that way too, because why was the world darkness and void and black? It wasn't until God came in and said, let there be light. So then technically, one could say that, yes, Satan was the one that was around before that. I mean, it all depends how you want to take the scripture. Satan and God had a fight first before our universe was even formed. And you know something? I will agree with that. I will. Because one of the things that I've said since the beginning is that the Bible, the first thing it says, these are the generations of creation. I find that very interesting. The Bible is saying these are the generations of creation. So what that tells me is, okay, there's more than one generation of creation. So that's issue number one. Issue number two, there obviously is a change in pronouns or a change in labeling when you get to Genesis chapter 2:4. Because first we were talking about God, and then all of a sudden we start talking about the Lord. And some people are like, well, the Lord and God are the same thing. I just question, okay, what if they're not? What if there is God and then the Lord comes into the picture? Because one of the things that the Lord did when he was creating the heaven and the earth is he kept saying, this is good, this is good. I'm creating this is good, this is good. So that tells me when the Lord is creating the earth, whatever is going on in the Lord's realm must be so bad that he's trying to create something that is now good. And I think, because I really want to hear the story before Adam and Eve, I want to hear what was going on in God's realm as to what caused everything to be darkness and void. What caused God to say, let there be light? What was, and it almost makes me wonder, was there an entire history, an entire Bible, an entire story that we will never ever understand or know because it all happened before Adam and Eve? Read Revelations 12:7-9. The Bible states that Satan was cast out of heaven. But okay, if that's the one, if he wasn't cast out of heaven, from my understanding, he was cast onto earth, not into hell. So I know somewhere in the Bible, I'm not too sure, and I'm not too sure if that's Revelations, where it's interesting enough when he's cast out of heaven, he doesn't get cast out into hell. He gets cast out into earth, and I think that's a very, very important thing. So read Revelations. The Bible states that Satan was. Can you read Deuteronomy for us? EJ, put it in. What's so special about Deuteronomy? The story before Adam and Eve, is in the Quran. So see, you know something, just based on that, I would be interested in reading. And that will be something I will read is the Quran. I do have to get I have to get a copy of it. I know I can get free copies. That's not a problem. But I do need to get a copy and do it. Satan had a pride problem. Read Ezekiel 28. Well, that's definitely true. And okay, there is this theory, and it's a theory that's going to upset people, that the Lord is actually the evil one. That's why he goes on to this murderous rampages, and that is why Jesus comes into the picture to say, hey, everybody, this was not my Father's way. we need to go back to my father's way, because for all these years you have been serving somebody that's using my father's name. He's not the good guy. And that makes a lot of sense if you think about it that way. That's almost a scary thought. I was talking about this with Chris yesterday. I says, Chris, you realize in the Gnostic texts there is a belief that the Lord was actually the evil one, the demigod, the one that's causing all this, and that Jesus was sent from God Himself, not from the Lord, but from God, to be like, look, we need to stop this insanity because the world is worshiping somebody that they shouldn't be worshiping. Um, Okay, so EJ, congratulations. You know something? There's more than just Deuteronomy. I will tell you right that there's other verses that will say something along those lines as well. You pointed it out. Who cares? I mean, oh wait, I can't even say who cares, because if I say that, somebody's going to run with it and say that I'm now a supporter of that. But no, what I'm saying is the Bible says a lot. Any and every anything you want to prove can be found in the Bible. Even if you want to prove a negative perspective of the Bible. So, congratulations, you just found a negative thing in the Bible. Um, so now, see, here's where you says this is what Christianity has to offer. So then you yourself don't even realize the Bible, because you're talking about something with the Old Testament. You're talking about something in the Old Testament. Christianity is not technically based on the Old Testament. So that right there, I mean, something, I don't even know why I'm fighting with you. I'm here to celebrate, not fight. So I'm done with that. All right. Anyway, but there is this potential belief that that is why Jesus came down, to erase the chaos that the Lord. I don't know. I really don't know. But all I know is the more that I'm reading into this, because, like I said, as we read the Bible, we are going to see bad things. We're going to see good things. We're going to see questionable things. There are things that are not going to make sense, and there are things that are going to be aha moments. I almost want to say that that's what makes this beautiful, is the fact that, remember I said if everything was perfect, we wouldn't appreciate or choose or have free will. If the Bible was nothing but, oh, thank you, Sarah. You're like, good for you, Melanie. That hat looks good. See, and I got another hat too. I got this one. I couldn't decide which one, so I wore both of them. It's like I said, 100 episode. I'm happy about this. This is my celebration. Anyway, I'm sorry. I think the fact that bad things are included says a lot about God. He has the transparency. Exactly. The Bible is being transparent. It's like, because if I almost want to say, if everything God wrote was nothing but the good things, and He didn't spell out the bad things as well, would it necessarily be believed, or would it be historically accurate, or would it be followed? I mean, I almost want to say absolutely love hats. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I do too. I used to wear like funny headbands and stuff like that. Maybe I'll start going back to that, because like my shows I always used to have fun with my shows. Okay, so in my opinion, the whole Bible is about faith. The law was just a test. And you know something? I agree with you. Because, all right, I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, this is probably a horrible example, but a good example at the same time. When you are going for a job interview, you go through this rigorous interview process. So you go through this interview process, then they decide whether they want you or not. Then once you get into the company, you then have to go through the whole cultural thing, where they'll give you an orientation, they'll give you the rules of the company, they'll do this and this. I almost feel like that in a way is what the Lord was doing. and says, okay, here are my rules. You want to be part of my company, you want to be part of this, here's what you need to do. So you need to do this. So this is what do you call it? The code of ethics, the handbook for, yeah, the Bible is your handbook for getting into the job of heaven. You can think about it. And you can look at it this way: when you read an employee handbook, does an employee actually follow every single thing 100% that's in the employee manual? No, they don't. Same thing with this. Is a person going to follow every single thing that's in here? No, it would be impossible, because I almost want to say following everything here would be a complete perfection of what the Lord wanted. But even when you follow everything to the law, we still see how people were punished when things happened, when they went against it, or when outside influence or something like that. Your God gave them a probation period before he executed it just exactly. You're right. He gave them a test. He's like, okay, here's the rules. You either follow them or boom, it's instant. Now I would tease, as Sarah said earlier, because I would say he goes on murderous rampages. He did. It's impossible, and that's why we need exactly. It's impossible to follow. He set up boundaries and laws that, in a sense, are impossible to follow 100% of the time. He really did. And if anybody thinks that they could follow all these things 100% of the time, then they're delusional. And I think that's what makes it interesting is he set the bar so high. Remember where I was saying, like me, I'm trying to reward myself for little accomplishments? The Lord has already set the bar so high. So you want to do this, here's the high bar. It was proven time and time again that people were not following. And not that I want to say that Jesus dumbed it down, but I almost want to say that Jesus was like, you know something? The bar is set so high. Let's not make it this high. Let's lower the bar down, because now, in order to be here, you need to follow me. You need to pray. You need to repent. You need to accept me into your life. That is much different than being like, okay, rule number one is this, rule number two is this, all the way down to 600 and whatever rules there were. Good morning, Nicole. Thank you so much. Welcome to the show. God is equally merciful and demands justice. That is what Moses shows in Numbers 14. Hold on one second, guys. I just need to respond to something real quick. See, that's one thing is I still get little messages here and there. There's a verse that says, if you keep the whole law and stumble just one, and see, that's where it is. He literally made it impossible to do everything. So I almost want to say, if somebody is able to genuinely keep the whole law, but then stumble on one, you're really going to kill them for that one, even though they followed. So I mean, I almost want to say it's making it as if one mistake is going to ruin everything. Hold on. Whoops. Sorry, guys. Somebody sent me a message and. Oh, that's different. I did that already. Okay. Marketplace. Sorry, guys. All right, I did that. Yes. I'm sorry, guys. I lost the message. Somebody just sent me a message and I need to. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. So yeah, so there's a verse that says if you try to keep the whole law and stumble on just one, you're guilty. And I almost want to say you're really going to condemn something. They could lead their whole life good, but the moment they do something bad, you're going to punish and kill and stumble on doing this. And I mean, in a way, if you think about it, that's exactly what our judicial system does. It doesn't matter if you are a law-abiding citizen at all times. But the moment you break the law, then there's consequences and you're held accountable for it. So, yeah, you're guilty of breaking them all. Enter Jesus. Jesus comes into the picture that says, I'm fulfilling the testament. You don't have to follow all the laws. You need to do this instead of this. The greatest commandment is to love the Lord with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Absolutely, Nicole. I love that one. Jesus says to the Pharisee, their works meant nothing because they had no faith. Yeah, if you do good but have no intention, I mean, it becomes just an action as opposed to, I mean, okay, it almost becomes, if you have no faith, it almost becomes like you're just doing something just to do it. And things are different. Like, I mean, all right, I almost want to say, okay, if perfect example, let's go back to the work. I used to work in human resources and management and stuff like that, so I could do a lot of workplace analogies. But let's go back to work for something. You have an employee that literally does their job. Whatever. Hello, welcome. How are you? Good evening. Can I help you with anything? Do you need anything? Okay, you see the difference? Be That's one employee versus another employee. Good morning. How are you today? Did you need anything, any help with anything, sir? Am I able to do something for you? Do you see the differences? Like if you're going to a cashier and the cashier is like, hello, welcome, and just takes your items, scan, scan, bag. Here you go. Have a nice day. That's wholly different. That's what it is. They're just doing actions. They're just doing their job. But if they had faith and belief and they loved and had passion with their job, and they'll be like, "Good morning, how are you? Oh, we're buying this, putting it in the bag. I hope you have a wonderful day." You see the difference in attitude? Big difference. The second is like love one another as you love yourself. When we follow that, the rest will follow. Absolutely. And that's why, I mean, okay, condensing it down to 10 rules was probably a good thing, but we can't forget the fact that it wasn't only 10 rules in the time of the children of Israel. He had 600 rules that are just, uh, um, hold on one second. Okay. Sorry, guys. All right. So, um, anyways, praise the Lord for this fellowship. God bless you, sister, and others. Thank you so much, Ventus. Jesus said to the Pharisee, their works meant nothing because they had no faith. Um, Jonas, you said you're looking for Bibles. There are many organizations that can give Bibles out. If not, I don't know if you are in another country or if you're local. Goodwill now gives Bibles out for free. There are many thrift stores that give free Bibles. So, depending upon where you are, Jesus actually commanded to keep the law. Paul contradicted Jesus and said, "I am not under the law." Did he really do that? From what I've heard, and like I said, I won't know until I actually get into the New Testament. But what I heard is that Paul was actually the one that started the modern day church, not necessarily what Jesus was promoting. So I'm curious how that's going to come into play when we get up to the story of Paul. Doing works without faith is just works of the flesh. We always need to be checking our motives for why we do things. Absolutely, Nicole. And I know I gave a non-religious point of view, but when you tie it in, like I said, the whole workplace thing, when you tie it into that religious aspect, it puts it in a totally different a different context. Matthew 5, whoever relaxes one of the least of these commandments will be called least in the kingdom. Whoever relaxes one of the least of these commandments will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. Okay, that's interesting. Jesus, the scribes and Pharisees sit in Moses' seat, so practice and observe whatever they tell you. Where does Jesus say follow the Bible in the Bible? No, Jesus says follow my Father. So, um, check with your church or any local church. Absolutely, churches give them away as well. It's easier for heaven and earth to pass away than for one stroke of a letter of the law to fail. It's easier for heaven and earth to pass away than for one stroke of a letter of the law to fail. I'm just curious, RG, what are you quoting? Are you quoting the Bible, the Quran? Are you quoting a just tell me what you're quoting if you don't mind. Jesus is Baal, a non-false name mentioned in John. Yeshua is the true Son of God. Where does Jesus? Okay, you repeated yourself. Okay. If we, well, actually, I'm going to answer that. The Bible, remember, is not a book. The Bible is a library of books. So technically, even back then, they never called this the Bible. If you think about that, I mean, when they were in the Old Testament, they called it the Torah. It wasn't the Bible. If we do works, then Jesus died in vain. Paul's epistles explain that nowhere. Where does Jesus say, I am a Christian? He's not going to say he's a Christian because Christianity came after Jesus. So, okay, so you were quoting Jesus. Thank you, RJ. I just wanted to make sure. It's easier for heaven and earth to pass away than for one stroke of the letter of the law. Okay, that's interesting. Do you think the Bible is not? Oh no, I will say this. I do believe the Bible is definitely corrupted, but people don't want to hear that and they don't want to have that conversation. So I read it now. I really, really think that there was stuff added to this Bible. Particularly, like I said, with the old laws, the fact that the laws were just basically one line, one line, one line, one line. And then until you get to the laws where they start explaining it into detail and create loopholes on certain things, to me, that's not the words of the Lord or of God. Those would be the words of man. But people could disagree with that. Yeah. You don't have to prove it to me. You really don't. So, I mean, if you want to prove it to yourself, that's great, but you have nothing to, you don't have to prove anything to me. Are you going to be cranky? My cat was cranky the other day, and I think she's cranky now because she's sitting here. Hello, Dr. Zhao. Welcome to the show. I can prove to you. Okay, so fine. I don't care. You don't need to prove that it's corrupted. I really don't care. All right, so what I'm going to do is I've got this. Where's my jar? I've got my book. Really? Treasure. Come on. Come on. You're getting down. I love you, baby, but you got to get down. All right. I've got this book I want to read. I've got this I want to do. I want to say a prayer, and then I want to get to 1 Samuel. What was the age of when he... I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't even know who Uzziah is. So, whatever. All right. So, let's start off with a prayer. This is a good time to pray. So, if you guys don't believe in prayer, then I ask, take a moment to yourself, reflect, think about what it is you guys do, what your passions are, what are the things and motivations that, something. I'm done with you. I'm not. I'm not here for people to say, you don't know what you're talking about. And you know something? I know I don't know what I'm talking about. That's why I'm reading the Bible, to learn what I'm talking about. We are to read the Bible as an instruction manual and ask God for sermon as we read. Absolutely. You're right. Absolutely. And yes, Dr. Zhao, we are reading the Bible. We're going to start chapter 19 in just a minute. I'm going to start off with a prayer because you don't think I'm normal. I love it. All right. This is a good time to pray because, we're just being bombarded with trolls. And it's amazing that as soon as I start praying, it's like they just disperse because it's like nobody wants to hear the words of God. So please join in with me if anybody wants to take this moment. And let's get to it because I think this is an important time. So, dear Heavenly Father, I want to absolutely thank you with all of my heart for this 100th celebration. Oh. Sorry, guys. That was my phone call. Let me try this again. So, dear Heavenly Father, I absolutely want to thank you for this 100th celebration. When I started this journey, I had no idea what to believe, what I was doing, where I was going, where my life was. But you gave me guidance, you gave me health, you gave me happiness, you gave me wisdom, you gave me a joy and a purpose that every day I could come to you with a smile, with grace, with humility, with humbleness and thankfulness. I pray that you continue your wisdom and strength as you guard this live, protecting us from any evil, from any trolls, from anything that would want to cause disruption. I pray that if anybody has a need, a special request, or a prayer, that you will help guide and listen. I pray that we remain happy, thankful, healthy, and that each day we could come together in your name. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So, okay, let me go back. Okay, so a couple of things. Mir doesn't think I'm normal. Okay, yeah, what is normal anyway? Exactly. All right, so you can be normal. I'm going to say, you know something? I'm not normal. I'm happy. Oh, she's praying right now. It seems normal to me. Low key thought you were weird because you thought I was weird because of heat. I don't. Oh, because of the hat. Hello. Did you not read? It's my 100th celebration. This is my party hat. I am celebrating because I have been doing this for 100 days. So who cares? I mean, this is almost funny. When it was Halloween, I got dressed up in makeup and people lost their minds. Now this is a 100-year celebration. I am partying because I'm so happy that I have a milestone to celebrate, and then people are still not happy. You know something? I almost want to say people need. I almost I want to grab a bag of glitter and I just want poof, poof, poof. I want to throw it in everybody's faces and just cover everybody in glitter. And that has nothing to do with it because it's like lighten up, have some joy, have some smile, do something to be thankful and grateful and happy for. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Oh, you can't be normal and happy at the same time. Oh man, you know something? I'm wondering if that's true. Issues you can't be normal and happy. I think you might be right about something. Like I almost want to say, has society made the new normal to be hateful? I think that's what it is. I think hatefulness and misery has become the new norm. And that's why they get so angry when they see somebody who is energetic or joyful or happy because they don't want to be around that happiness. They don't want to see the glow and the happiness and the joy and everything. I think that's what it is. I don't want to be normal. I don't want to be normal either. I came on excited to see your hat. I love you, Kimmy. Thank you. You know what? I'm overly okay. I can tell you a funny story. You ready for this? And all right, maybe this is my problem. And I tried to explain this to Chris because we had, I shouldn't say we had a fight, but we had a little issue this weekend. And it upset me a little bit because I'm having a SpongeBob party. That's not SpongeBob party animal. Here's what the issue was. This weekend, I convinced Chris to pick up all the kids and for us to go bowling. Now you're probably saying, okay. I'm like, first of all, I have not personally been bowling at all since I moved here in Texas. So it has been 15 years since I have gone bowling. All right, so that's issue number one. I haven't gone bowling. Issue number two is we're finally at a time, and I mean, I guess I shouldn't just, but we're at a time where we actually have some money in the bank that we can breathe a little. We can enjoy ourselves a little. We can spend money. We don't have to be penny pinching every single thing. And then at the end of the week, be like, so yes. So, you know something, taking the family out, it did cost about $80 to go bowling. And I mean, you know something? I was thrilled. I was thrilled. And not only that, it was the blacklight bowling where they have like the laser lights, they have the music going on, they turn the lights on, they have the colorful pins. I was having so much fun. And you know, here's the thing. I was a bowler when I was a kid. Like I had a very high average. I was on bowling teams. I was on leagues and stuff like that. The fact is, this is now 15 years later. The very first ball I throw, my arm and my hip go crack, and I'm like, ah, and my ankle, like my foot swelled up. I'm like, yes, and I said to Chris, I'm like, both of us, we're too old for this shit. But you know something? We had a blast. I only lasted 2 games. That's it. And in fact, in the middle of the second game, I'm like, Chris, I can't do a third game. He's like, I can't do this either. But you know something? We had fun. And here's where the funny thing is. Like, I had fun. We did not even break 100. My first game, I think I had, what was it? I had like a 37. I think my second game I had like an 89. But it's like, and it was so bad. Like, the bowling was awful. I cannot even tell you how many gutter balls I had. And it was just, but you know something? It was fun. We went out. There was the excitement. And I think the problem was I get overly excited. I really do. I'm like a little kid. And Chris is like, you got to calm down. I'm like, you don't understand. We're going out. We're going to have a good time. So maybe that's my fault, is that when I get excited, I get like way too excited. I do. That's me. I'm like ADHD. What can I say? So yeah. I don't know. I was on a bowling thing, but that's what we did. We went bowling, and I was so joyful and so happy for it. I really was. Are you gonna be a little monster? But yes, we did go bowling. We had to bring the kids back because they went to their moms, went to church, and everything like that. It's your childlike spirit, and the Lord loves you like that. I know. Well, because you know what and I said this to Chris. I said, Chris, you have to realize, for all my life, my world was filled with tears. I says, now my tears can be joyful tears. I says, so what difference does it make if perhaps I get a little too excited and like a little too happy for doing something? Because I said to him, I says, think about this. I says, since we've met, and we've been together for a year and a half now, I says, since we met in a year and a half, have we ever gone bowling? He's like, no. I says, well, I haven't gone bowling in 15 years. I'm like, 15 years. I'm like, good question. Is there such a thing to be too happy? I don't know. The only thing I almost want to say, it has to do with excess, because I realized something like, okay, so like, for example, I was in such a high drive this weekend that I wanted to do more and more and more. And I said to Chris, I'm like, oh, can't we do this? Can't we do this, kids? And he's like, calm down. I'm like, no, 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 can't we do this? Can we do this? And I realized, okay, maybe there is an extent of being too happy, because then it crosses the line of being too greedy. And possibly, I don't know, but I was just such on a joyful happiness that we were able to spend time with it. I mean, yeah, probably. Yeah, that's my ups and downs, like manic. I think that's what it is. If you're too happy and too manic, it gets into a dangerous phase. But I was so happy because one of the things that I did was I specifically called up his son, because originally we weren't going to go bowling. And I says, no, let's call up the kids. Let's get the kids. And even they were happy. Like, we took the son home from college. We had his daughter, and we all went bowling. I personally believe balance is very important, but happiness is a great thing. But sometimes our emotions can get us in trouble. And I think that's what ends up happening is, if it's too much, maybe it can be too overwhelming. And the thing I said to Chris is, I said, Chris, you have to realize you're bringing so much joy to me. I mean, I teased him, and I said this, like, we talked about this. It took 3 months before Chris and I even went out to dinner for the first time. And in fact, I moved in with him before we ever went out to dinner. And I'm like, oh God, we're doing this backwards. I'm like, we got together backwards. We really did. Yes, Chris absolutely keeps me grounded. He really does. Let your emotions subside before you decide, especially when deciding on something big or life changing. Um, I personally, I know this is going to sound weird. I do not like making big decisions on my own. It's not that I'm not capable of making a big decision, but anytime there's a big decision, I always involve Chris. especially when it's life changing. I have a tendency to sit on the fence about a lot of things, and that's part of my overthinking because I try to think about all the scenarios and all the things that could potentially happen, which includes the negative aspect. So, like, for example, if I have to make a major decision, I have already thought about 100 different negative ways that things can go wrong. This way, I know that there's no surprise if things turn out bad, if that makes any sense. So, um, but yeah, so we went bowling. We had a great time. We were with the kids. I was just thrilled and overly excited and joyful and like a little kid. And I mean, even yesterday, Chris and I, not having the kids, it was just the two of us, but we were allowed to watch TV. We talked a lot. We saw that movie. We made food. I mean, it was his day off, and he wanted to clean the house. I said, Chris, don't you dare clean the house. He's like, why? I says, because I'm home the whole week. I'm like, I'm gonna be here. You do not have to clean the house. Do not spend your day off cleaning the house when that's my job. I'm like, you have your job at work. I know the house is upside down. The house has been upside down because, well, yeah, when the kids come along, that distracts the both of us. We all make about, you know what I mean? We had the kids for a few days. The house gets turned upside down. It really does. I have no idea why. So I said to him, I says, you know something? Monday, I'll do my show, I'll do my live, and then I'll spend the rest of the day cleaning the house so you don't have to worry about it. So he's like, that's a plan. Good. Because he was getting so annoyed that the house was messed up. And it's like, how does it get so messed up with the kids? I'm like, Chris, don't worry about it. Sit your ass down, watch TV, talk to me, enjoy it. Oh, thank you, Dario. Real, what are you saying? Whatever. But I can't even say your name. You're just causing issues, but that's all right. So we said a prayer. Let me start off with my jar. If anybody remembers what we're doing, and I forgot we're on what day are we on? I've been collecting these. We are on day 5. All right, so it's my little they're little scriptures in a jar. And let me pull one out. I have no idea what color, what. Okay, so now we have a blue one. So the blue one, or light blue one, this is loneliness. So let's see what loneliness, and we're what did I say? We're on day 5. Let me write this down. So day 5. Oh, thank you so much, cool hat. It's our 100th celebration, so that's why I'm partying today. So okay, so day 5. Today is we're on March 2nd already. I gotta write that down. We are on March 2nd. I feel like we're still in I feel like I'm still in February. We are in March. March 2nd. Hey, are you taking this? Give me that. I'm reading this, not you. Okay, let's see what it says. So this is a scripture on loneliness. But now thus said the Lord, he who created you, O Jacob, he who formed you, O Israel, fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. Interesting. I don't know what to think about this one. Now, okay, I know this is in regards because his original name was Jacob, but then he changed his name to Israel, children of Israel. Um, Fear not, I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. So that is a very, very powerful. Um, I want to say that's a powerful pact. Think about this for a second. When somebody declares that you are mine, that could be a good thing or that could be a bad thing. Now, in this case, this is the Lord. So for the Lord to proclaim, I am yours, I belong to you, that is a good thing but it could also be a bad thing if somebody puts claim to someone with ill intentions. And the reason, oh, thank you, Monster Me, I appreciate that. And the reason I say that is because this is where it bothers me a little bit. Not the quote itself, but where I'm going with this is that think about abusive relationships. there's always that sense of ownership. There's that sense of control. There's that sense of your mind. You're going to do exactly what I say, when I say it, how I say it. So that could be a very, very dangerous scenario. But at the same time, it can be a beautiful thing depending upon who the owner is. Okay, can I get you down? Like how many? I mean, you're so cute. My baby is so cute, but she's like right on top of the Bible. You're not gonna be able. I'm gonna need to read this. Yes, chapter 19. My baby. Yeah, I know. Out of all the kitty cats, she's the one that screams for me every day. Which I'm obviously here. She gets it. I mean, she gets so much attention. It's not like I abuse these cats at all. She's always getting attention, but she screams for me if I'm not in the room. I know, baby. You're my baby. All right. All right. So I read the quote. We prayed. Now I want to read this. You got to get off this. Okay. I'll read a quote from this, and then we're going to go into chapter 19. So this is 365 days. We are on day 9, 11, 12, 13. We're on day 14. So day 14, 3, 2. Okay. It says, I know that it is often the smallest things that make me the happiest. So I make sure to appreciate even the least notable qualities in my life. The more I recognize them, the more important they come. Okay, this is exactly what we were just talking about, where I was saying I was so happy about like going bowling. It's the little things that make me happy. Look at this. I know it's the smallest things that make me the happiest. My cat is crazy. He doesn't care if I'm sleeping. He's so yes. Yeah, when they're hungry. Ah! Oh, are you kidding? It's the worst when we have to do the time change, which, if I'm not mistaken, we have to do the time change this week. If you have to change the times and you don't feed them on their schedule, you'll definitely start hearing the dogs will start screaming too. I've got 3 cats, 3 dogs, so yeah. So I'm definitely on their time. I like this. The smallest things make me the happiest. So I make sure I appreciate the least noticeable qualities in my life. The more I recognize them, the more important. Stop and smell the roses moment. I say it time and time and time again. There are people who live and there are people who exist. I am choosing to live. Enjoy every moment. Don't be blinded. I mean, I almost want to say for anybody who seriously has anger and hate in their heart, don't be blinded by the beauty that is around you on a day to day basis. Every day, there is so much beauty and life and miracles and joy. And even if you don't believe in the Bible, I'm going to say it, even if you don't believe what this is saying, you have to believe that there is something that is greater, that there is something powerful, that there is something who created all this. Even if you don't understand the name or don't understand what it is, you cannot think that the world around us simply just came into existence without anything. You know what I mean? The devil wants to distract us with all the negativity in the world. And I was reading something interesting. It was a video that talked about how the energy harvesting of negativity, that harvesting anger and rage and negativity is so much easier and more powerful than harvesting love. And that's why they constantly divide us and keep us separate. Because if we were to actually come together in love and come together as one, it would be so powerful that it would obliterate the evil in the world, and evil can't have that. So by separating us and confusing us and creating divide, it can feed on the negativity and still continue to thrive, which is bad. Do I play video games? Some I really don't. I have one stupid game that I've been playing consistently for 2 years. It's my little Mafia app game, Grand Mafia. Um, that's the only game I play. I've never. I mean, I had an Xbox 360, but when I was a kid, I had a Nintendo. Those were the only two systems I ever owned. I owned an Xbox 360 and the original Nintendo. So all the other gameplays and all this other stuff, never owned, never played, never did anything. I don't have the time, the energy, or the coordination to do anything like that. If you ever if you ever been to a football game at a stadium, when people stomp their feet, the energy is crazy. Nicole, why can't I think? Hold on, I gotta look something up real quick. There is okay. I love the song "Enter Sandman." I forget which college bowl, but when they do the "Enter Sandman" as their initial thing, I don't know if it's Ohio State or which college plays Enter Sandman. Yeah, that's the one I want to say. Virginia Tech. Okay, if you ever want to see a crazy opening, just Google or YouTube Virginia Tech Hokies doing Enter Sandman. I have never seen the amount of craziness. I mean, every time they do that, it literally creates a little miniature earthquake because the energy is so high with Enter Sandman. Like it's awesome. You would gain more traction if you do live gameplay while you were also talking about this. Wait. Hold on. Okay, so wait. You're telling me I need to go on and play video games talking about Jesus? Could you imagine, like, I don't know, like Call of Duty or something while reading the Bible? So you might be onto something. I don't know if that would be, could I even like attempt to do that? That would be hilarious. I don't know why I'm finding that so funny. I mean, that legitimately could be a thing, but could you imagine playing video games while you're preaching the Bible? They stomp their feet. Minecraft is pretty popular. I'm sorry. I tried to get into Minecraft. I cannot get into Minecraft at all. Like for me, it was such a boring game. I did okay. There was a game that I played with my ex for a little bit because he was a huge gamer and he was trying to get me into games. So he's like, "Let's start off with like a what do you call it? A sandbox game for me." And the game was called My Time at Sandrock, which basically you are a builder in the Wild West and you have to build this community. So I was playing that for a little bit. It was a fun game. I started doing the streaming with him on that. Maybe I might go back to that. I have no idea. But I don't think I can do Minecraft. All right, so I did my quote. I did that. Now, you know what? I think it's time to get to First Samuel. The Lord Jesus Christ of Nazareth love you so much. God bless you. So thank you so much, Daniela. Welcome to the show. All right, so now let's get to First Samuel chapter 19. Now, the first thing I did the other day, I made a mistake because I was reading the Bible, but it turns out I was reading Second Samuel, and I wasn't understanding what was going on because I'm like, this doesn't make sense. So obviously, I skipped a book by accident. So now I'm going back to where the chapter I really was reading, which is First Samuel. David has just slain Goliath. Um, David now was given the job of finding foreskins of the enemies, which he found 200 instead of. He only needed to get 100 foreskins. He did the impossible. He grabbed 200 foreskins, which I almost find that I wasn't expecting that. And we were just watching the House of David, and it turns out that episode I missed because I had to stop and I said, "Okay, Chris, I have a stupid question." I says, "I know I fell asleep on a couple of things." I says, "Was there a foreskin part in House of David?" He's like, "Oh yeah, there was." I'm like, "Okay, so there was a foreskin." So I just get this image of him carrying like a bag of foreskins, like, "Here are my foreskins of my enemies. Now I can marry your daughter." Like, if that's not a, I mean, we know it's literal, but that could also be metaphoric. But still, if that's not a literal in your face, here, you want me to marry your daughter? Here is a bag of foreskins. Okay. So that's where we are now. He just gave the bag of foreskins to Saul, and he's going to marry his daughter. So, 1 Samuel chapter 19. So Saul spoke to Jonathan his son and to all his servants that they should kill David. Okay, so now he's angry with David. He's like, they need to kill David. But Jonathan, Saul's son, delighted much in David. And Jonathan told David, saying, Saul my father seeks to kill thee. Therefore, I pray, take heed of thyself unto the morning, and abide in a secret place to hide yourself. And I will go out, stand beside my father in the field where thou art, and I will commune with my father of thee, and what I see, and what I will tell. And Jonathan spoke good of David unto Saul his father, and said unto him, Let not be the king sin against his servant, against David, because he had not sinned against thee, and because his works have been to thee ward very good. For he did put his life in his hands and slew the Philistine, and the Lord wrought a great salvation for all of Israel. Thou saw it, and thou rejoiced. Wherefore then wilt thou sin against innocent blood to slay David without a cause? Now that's a good thing, because he's trying to say, oh, love you, girl, I'm going to go out, get outside to mow the yard. Oh, thank you, Nicole, and I appreciate that. Have a great day, and be careful out there. So this is an interesting question, because David has been good. He killed Goliath. It brought glory to Israel. Now he wants to slay David. There's no justification for slaying him. And Saul hearkened unto the voice of Jonathan, and Saul swore, As the Lord liveth, he shall not be slain. And Jonathan called David, and Jonathan showed him all those things. Jonathan brought David to Saul, and he was in the presence as in the past. And there was war again. David went out, fought with the Philistines, and slew them by great numbers, and they fled from him. And the evil spirit from the Lord was upon Saul, and he sat in his house with his javelin in his hand, and David played with his hand. And Saul sought to smite David even to the wall with a javelin, but he slipped away out of Saul's presence, and he smote the javelin onto the wall. David fled and escaped the night. Okay, so basically he had the javelin in hand. He threw it at him, but David ran away. Saul sent messengers onto David's house to watch him, to slay him in the morning. And Michal, David's wife, told him, saying, If thou save not thy life tonight, tomorrow thou shalt be slain. So Michal let David down through a window, and he went and fled and escaped. And Michal took the image, laid it in the bed, and put a pillow of goat's hair for his bolster, and covered it with a cloth. And when Saul sent messengers to take David, she said, He is sick. Saul sent the messengers again to see David, saying, Bring him up to me in the bed, that I may slay him. When the messengers came in, behold, there was an image in the bed with a pillow of goat's hair for the bolster. Saul said unto Michal, Why hast thou deceived me so, and sent away my enemy, that he is escaped? And Michal answered Saul, He said unto me, Let me go. Why should I kill thee? So David fled and escaped, and came to Samuel to Ramah, and told him that Saul had done to him. And he and Samuel went and dwelt in Najoth. And it was told by Saul, saying, Behold, David in Naioth in Ramah. And Saul sent messengers to take David. And when he saw the company of the prophets prophesying, and Samuel standing as an appointee over them, the Spirit of God was upon the messengers of Saul, and they also prophesied. Okay, so God is still coming in the form of the Spirit. When it was told by Saul, he sent other messengers, and they prophesied likewise. And Saul sent messengers again the third time, and they prophesied also. They went also to Ramah, and came to a great wall that is in situ. And he asked and said, Where are Samuel and David? And one said, Behold, that they are at Naioth and Ramah. And he went there to Naioth in Ramah, and the Spirit of God was among him also. And he went on and prophesied until he came to Najoth in Ramah. He stripped off his clothes also, and prophesied before Samuel.
like that matter, and lay down naked all that day and all that night. Wherefore they said, Is Saul among the prophets? Chapter 20. David fled from Naioth in Ramah and came and said before Jonathan, What have I done? What is my iniquity? What is my sin? Therefore my father seeks my life. Which is a good question. What did I do wrong? Why is your father trying to kill me? And he said unto him, God forbid, thou shalt not die. Behold, my father will do nothing either great or small, but he will show it to me. And why should my father hide this thing from me? It is not so. And David swore moreover that he said, Thy father certainly knows that I have found grace in thine eyes. And he said, Let not Jonathan know this, lest he be grieved. But truly as the Lord live, and as that soul live, there is but a step between me and death. Then Jonathan said unto David, Whatsoever thy soul desire, I will even do it for thee. And David said unto Jonathan, Behold, tomorrow is the new moon, and I should not fail to sit with my king at meat. But let me go, that I may hide myself in the field unto the third day as even. Now, I just want to point out something. It's very interesting that they say tomorrow is the new moon. So what that means is that is putting us in a time frame of what the moon cycle is. B, it's giving significance to the fact that the new moon is when you don't see the moon. The moon is completely covered. It's not a full moon, it's a darkened moon. So they're going to be in darkness tomorrow. It's kind of interesting if you think about that. Let me go that I may hide myself into the field onto the third day at even. So under the cloakness of darkness, he won't be able to see because the moon is not shining away. If thy father at all misses me, then say, David earnestly asked, Leave me that he might run to Bethlehem to his city, for there is a yearly sacrifice there for all the family. If he say this, it is well, thy servant shall have peace. But if it's very wroth, then he shall be evil, determined by him. Therefore thou shalt deal kindly with the servant, for thou hast brought thy servant into a covenant of the Lord with thee. Notwithstanding, if there be me in iniquity, slay me thyself, for why should thou bring me to thy father? And Jonathan said, Far be it from thee, for if I knew certainly that evil were determined by my father to come upon thee, then I would not tell it to thee. That said David to Jonathan, Who shall tell me what if thy father answered me roughly? And Jonathan said to David, Come and let us go out to the field. And they went out both of them into the field. Jonathan said unto David, O Lord God of Israel, when I have sounded my father about tomorrow any time, or the third day, and behold, if there is any good toward David, and I send thee unto, show it to thee. The Lord do so much more to Jonathan. But if it pleases my father to do thee evil, then I will show it to thee, and send thee away, that thou may go in peace. And the Lord be with thee. And he had been with my father. Thou shalt not only while I live show me kindness of the Lord, but that I die not. But I also shall not cut off the kindness from the house forever. No, not when the Lord had cut off the enemies of David, everyone from the face of the earth. So Jonathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying, Let the Lord require it at the hand of David's enemies. And Jonathan caused David to swear again, because he loved him, for he loved him as he loved his own soul. Okay, I'm just curious. Were they in a relationship, like that kind of love? Or was this more of a brotherly love? Just something to think of. I don't know. Then Jonathan said to David, Tomorrow is a new moon. Thou shalt be missed, because thy seat will be empty. And when hast thou stayed 3 days, then shalt thou go quickly and come to the place where thou hid thyself, when the business was in hand. Thou shalt remain by the stone of Ezel. And I will shoot 3 arrows on the side, therefore I shot at a mark. And behold, I will send a lad, saying, Go find out those arrows. If I expressly say to the lad, Behold the arrows on the side of thee, take them, Then come down, for there is peace to thee, and no hurt, as the Lord liveth. But if I say to the young man, Behold, the arrows are beyond thee, go thy way, for the Lord had sent thee away. And as touching the matter which thou and I have spoken of, behold, the Lord be between me forever. So David hid himself in the field, and when the new moon come, the king sat down to eat meat. And the king sat upon his seat at the other times, even upon the seat by the wall. And Jonathan arose, and Abner sat by Saul's side, and David's place was empty. Nevertheless, Saul spoke not anything that day, for he thought something had befallen him. He is not clean. Surely he is not clean. And it came to pass on the morrow, which was the second day of the month, that David's place was empty. And Saul said to Jonathan his son, Wherefore cometh not the son of Jesse to me, neither yesterday nor today? And Jonathan then answered Saul, David earnestly asked, Leave me to go to Bethlehem. And he said, Let me go, I pray, for our family had sacrificed in the city, and my brother. He had commanded me to be there. And now I found favored in thy eyes. Let me get away. I pray thee, and see my brethren. Therefore cometh. Hold on one second. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. Therefore he cometh not into the king's table. Then Saul's anger was kindled against Jonathan, and he said unto him, The son of thy perverse rebellious woman, do not I know that thou hast chosen the son of Jesse to thy own confusion, and into the confusion of thy mother's nakedness? For as long as the son of Jesse liveth upon the ground, thou shalt not be established, nor thy kingdom. Wherefore now send and fetch him into me, for surely he will die. And Jonathan answered Saul his father, and said unto him, Wherefore shall he be slain? What had he done? And Saul cast a javelin to him to smite him, whereby Jonathan knew that it was determined of his father to slay David. So Jonathan rose from the table in fierce anger, and did not eat meat on the second day of the month, for he was grieved for David, because his father had done him shame. And when it came past in the morning that Jonathan went out to the field at the time appointed with David, and a little lad with him, and he said unto the lad, Run, find out now the arrows which I shoot. And as the lad ran, he shot an arrow behind him. And when the lad came to place the arrow which Jonathan had shot, Jonathan cried unto the lad and said, Is not the arrow beyond thee? And Jonathan cried after the lad, Make speed, haste not. And Jonathan's lad gathered up the arrows and came to his master. But the lad knew not anything, only Jonathan and David knew the matter. And Jonathan gave his artillery to his lad, and said, Go carry them into the city. And as soon as the lad was gone, David arose out of the place towards the south, and fell on his face to the ground, and bowed before himself 3 times. They kissed one another, and wept with one another, until David exceeded. And Jonathan said to David, Go in peace, for as much as we have sworn both of us in the name of the Lord, saying, The Lord be between me and thee, and between my seed and thy seed forever. And he arose and departed, and Jonathan went to the city. Okay, so that's interesting, particularly the part that they kissed. Now, I do understand that kissing can be a love. Oh, thank you, Adiva. It's a party time. It's our 100th episode. I almost questioned, like I said, I almost want to question, is there anything more intimate? Because why are Jonathan and David kissing? And I mean, it can be kissing because they know. Yes, this is Treasure. Treasure has to be part of the show. I've got 2 other cats. I also have, I don't know if you can see, right there sleeping is Hope. And then Pikachu is sleeping over there on the chair. But yeah, I've got 3 cats. And Treasure just has to be part of the show. Yes, my baby. I'm curious if there's a relationship between Jonathan and David. The fact that they love each other. I mean, am I going more into it? But it's interesting how it says, "The Lord be between me and thee, and between my seed and thy seed forever." To me, that's implying something. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that's implying something, but I don't know. So now it is. I'm going to. So 101. Let me just write this down. Episode chapter 21, and that's going to be on 3-3. So now tomorrow, um, I don't know what's going to happen the next 2 days. Tomorrow, Chris has a doctor's appointment, and then on Wednesday, I have a doctor's appointment. Chris is taking the day off tomorrow. I don't know how long his appointment's going to be. Which this is going to be an interesting appointment. Chris has to. Long story made short, Chris has used to have a defibrillator in his side. It got infected. It got badly infected because the lead that was leading to his heart, his skin started. Because he's a very thin guy, so now they want to take the defibrillator. They already removed it. He healed up. Now they want to put another one in his chest. And instead of putting it on the side, they want to put it here. So tomorrow he's going for the appointment to find out what defibrillator, when is the, it's the whole, okay, this is the operation, when it's not the actual operation tomorrow, it's the preparation for when they're going to do it, what they're going to do it, how they're going to, that sort of thing. So that's going to be tomorrow. And then Wednesday, I have a follow up that I have to go to. So I'm hoping to be back. Worst case scenario, I'll be back on Thursday. But if I can make it back tomorrow, I will definitely. Oh, the reason with the hat is this is the 100th episode. I had my little cowbell. So this was a celebration as a little part. I couldn't decide if I wanted that hat or if I wanted this hat. So I had two hats. But it's my little celebration, being a little party animal, that a celebration of my 100th episode. So I've been doing this for 100 days, and I wanted to be a little happy and celebrate. So that's what it is. But unfortunately, I am ending the show now. So what I'm saying is, so tomorrow, I'm hoping to be back tomorrow. If I'm not back tomorrow, I know for a fact on Wednesday I have an appointment. So worst case scenario, I'll be back Thursday. I'm hoping not, but I'm hoping to be back tomorrow. But everyone, I just want to thank you. If you're not already following me, please follow me. I'm on every single day, or at least I try to be on every single day. We're going to be reading more about the Bible. We're going to be talking about other things. If there's anything about today, go check out the movie Begonia. Very weird movie. Very interesting little take on it. But that is the movie Begonia. We saw that yesterday. And as always, keep reading, keep having faith. Most importantly, if there's any lesson, there are those who choose to live, those who choose to exist. I choose to live, so live, be happy, smile, have joy in your heart, have love and compassion for everything, and that will be such a beautiful time. So, with that, guys, I need to get going because I have some things I need to do today. Have a great day, enjoy, and I will see you guys soon. And thank you. Happy 100th episode. Oh, guys, take care. Happy 100th episode. Thank you so much.